Hi there everybody, Mick Andrews here again. Just like to say thank you for the positive comments about my picture that I put on the page with the hand and the flower, and to accommodate those that would like to know how I did it, I thought I'd make this video to show you. Now before we start, I would implore you to realise that I'm not a Photoshop wizard. I don't even use Photoshop generally. I use Serif photo software. I like to do most of my picture work in the camera, so I generally use editing purely for brightness, contrast, cropping and sharpening. That's about as far as it goes normally. But I do like to see techniques, and when I do see techniques and see something I like this technique, then I like to follow it up. So I can't give you loads and loads of Photoshop advice, but I'll show you how I did this and you can play with it and see how you get along. Okay, I'm using Photoshop CS2, which is currently being given away free by Adobe with the keys, a full program. And to be honest, if you're not a high-end photographer, pro photographer, rather than pay a monthly fee or spend hundreds of dollars on Photoshop, this is going to do everything you want it to do. Everything you want it to do, free of charge. So come down here, click on there, and I've got Photoshop CS2 already open. The two images I'm going to use are this one, which is a picture of a thistle, cascade that, and this one, a picture of a hand, which I've cut out of its background in another program, and there you are, it just moves around. And this is what we're going to wrap the picture of the thistle around. So first thing we want to do is pick the move tool, pick up the hand, left click, hold, drag it into this picture and drop it. Now I get a colour violation mismatch box come up saying they're different colour formats. Yes, I know that, so I'll just hit OK because I'm quite happy to work with that. That's fine. Okay, I don't need that. I'll enlarge that, and there's a hand on the picture. If you look to the right here on the layers tab, you now see your hand, see the hand I'm using, see the background layer. Background layer by this padlock here is locked. Now we're going to be working with it, and even if you do, whenever you're going to work with the background layer, you're limited by what it can do when it's locked, so you need to unlock it. So if you just double click on that layer, you get a box come up, call it what you like if you want to change the name, OK that, and now you notice the padlock's gone and it's an ordinary layer. Now I'm going to also need two versions of this layer, exactly the same. The quick way of doing that is to go onto my layer, left click and hold, drag it down to this create new layer icon, let it go, and you'll see we've now got a second layer exactly the same. My hand, which is at the moment is the top layer, which is why you can see it here, needs to be between the two. So I'll click once to activate it, left click and hold, drag it between the two, drop it, and now it's between the two layers. The eyes here, as you know, show us which layers we can see. So if I turn the top layer off, I can see my hand. If I turn the bottom layer off, I can see my hand by itself, which is what we're going to do for the time being. Okay, now we don't really want the hand floating in mid-air like that with a gap underneath. So I'll turn the bottom layer back on so I can see where the position of my hand is. This layer is still highlighted, so we're working with the hand, so left click, drag to the bottom. I think actually I'm going to make the hand a little bigger. Two ways of doing this: go edit, free transform, or control T, and we get the transform box come up. So I hold the shift key, drag slightly, just make the hand a bit bigger. I think that's enough. Hit enter to apply the transformation. Can now pick the hand up and move it ever so slightly where I want it. Let's keep it there. And this is the layer we're going to work with for the time being. So we'll switch this layer off. Right, for this technique we're going to need a black and white version of the hand. So we're going to come up to image, adjustments, desaturate. We've got a grey image. Now we're going to need a high contrast image. So we're going to come back to image, come to adjustments, we're going to use the levels panel. I'll click on levels and there's a levels panel. I could have used Control L and got the same panel. Here's your histogram, blacks on the left, midtones in the middle, whites on the right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide the white slider in, and you'll see the whites come up brightly. Get the black and bring that in, and the blacks will deepen. And the mid-tone slider, we can pretty much leave it where it is because we're not going to use many mid-tones. What happens is we're going to use a filter to do the wraparound. Where the filter encounters black pixels, it will move the colour pixels of the flower one way. With the white, it will move them another way. When it finds greys, it won't touch them, it will just leave them alone, so it doesn't really matter about the greys. So here we've got high whites, deep blacks, not many greys, we'll leave that and okay it. Right, as this was cut out, it's left quite a sharp outline. This can run into problems when you're doing a wraparound. The easy way out of this is we'll just come to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and just a very slight blur and just to soften the edges. I've done this before with this, so making the video. It's set at 2 pixels. This is quite enough. You can either highlight this box and type in the pixel size, or you can drag the slider. We'll just keep that as okay. Right, the filter we're going to use when we wrap round is up here: filter, distort and displace. But this, when we use this filter later on, it's going to need something called a displacement map, and what we're going to use as a displacement map is what we've just created here, this black and white hand. So we're going to save this where we can find it. File, save as. I've made up a folder. I've already saved this once here. I changed the name to something I recognise. I didn't change the format, so just to show you, we'll delete this one. Yes, we'll delete that. This is the one we're trying to save, so we'll save that. I know it already exists because you only just deleted it. So yes, replace it. Maximum capable. Yeah, that's fine. So there we are. Now here, so we can see what we're doing. We're going to still with the hand. We're going to edit, step back, edit, step back, and we're back to where we were. We'll just leave that there because we're working with it. Okay, so now we come to our top layer, which is a layer we're going to use to wrap around the hand. We'll click the eyeball so we can see what we're doing. Hand is still there. You notice we've still left the hand in the background. Right, the displacement map we just created with the black and white hand, we're going to use on this top layer. And as I said, the displacement map is going to tell this image, tell Photoshop where to bend this image. The black's one way, the white's another. So we need to, this is where we're going to apply our displacement filter. So we come to filter. I missed it now. Where was I? Distort, displace. Then you get this box here. Now this box tells you nothing. So this is why I'm telling you what it is and why it's going to use it. This is all a matter of taste. As you do this, you can change these numbers and get different effects, different degree that it changes. So this is all personal taste stuff. It defaults at 10. I'm going to leave it at 10. So when I hit OK, watch the image. Hit OK. Sorry, I hit OK. Then it asks me to load the displacement map. This is the grey hand we just created. Highlight that. Open that. Right, did you see that on the image? The image is now distorted. This is because our displacement map, our grey hand that we saved, is now in this picture, and Photoshop is displacing this picture around the tones we created. That's why we created it. Okay, so that's that bit done. Coming back to our hand layer, we come down here, click on the hand, activate the hand layer. And just shut the layer off so you can see it. Here it is, it's still here. Right, I need to select this hand. I need an outline around this hand for what we're going to do next. So the easy way of doing that is come to the thumbnail on the layer, hold control down, click in the thumbnail, and if you see now, we've got the marching ants, we've highlighted the hand. And it's showing through the top layer. We've highlighted it. So we're now going to use a layer mask. We're going to come to our top layer, activate the top layer. We've still got the hand selected. Come down to the add layer mask icon and click it. So now the selection we had on our hand has applied to the top layer. We've cut the hand out so that the picture is now on our hand. So how are we going to wrap this around? Because at the moment we've just got a two-dimensional image. Well, we're going to use the blending modes which are here. At the moment it says normal. Again, this is all stuff you can play around with. Click left. One I've been using is overlay. So we come to overlay and we click. And lo and behold, there you are. There's our picture wrapped around our hand. Now, you can play with this. You can play with it in various ways. You can come to the layer of the hand and change the hand itself. You can come to your layer mask, and by clicking on the picture of the plant, this is the mask here, the black and white one is the mask. By clicking on the flower itself, we can now work on this photograph of the flower. So we can use our brightness and our contrast if we want to. So at the moment, to get an idea of what we're doing, if we come down to this bottom layer, which is still shut, and we open it, you can see now we're showing the background, but everything's sort of disappearing. So what we're going to do is click on this layer here, and to give an idea of depth of field, we're going to use another filter. We'll come to filter, come to blur, come to Gaussian blur. This is the one we use for the hand. This is now working on the bottom layer, this layer here, the whole layer of the plant. So we're going to give this quite a bit of blur because we want it totally out of focus. So pull the slider up to this one is 52.1. There you are. Now the background there, you can still see the flower, and what you do here is we can see where the flower would be. If we turn it down a little, come down to maybe 30, there you are, we can see the flower more clearly. You can see the stems, might give you a better idea. So in fact, let's type that and get exactly 30 then. So there you are. Now I think to separate this, I found to separate this more, if we carry on with this layer that we've just blurred, highlighted, if we come up to image, adjustments, and use the brightness and contrast control, if we then drop the brightness quite a way down, we're blurring the back layer but not the hand layer. We don't need to shift the contrast because we're only after this being blurred and lower in tone, so we can see our hand. So we OK that. I think that we could use this picture being a little brighter to pop it off the background a bit. So if we come to our top layer, which is our other hand layer, the photo on the hand, click on the flower icon, not the hand, not the layer mask icon, click on the flower icon, and if we open our brightness and contrast controls again, we can then work on this picture. Maybe we can bring the brightness up a bit and shift the contrast up a little just to, there you are. Try that, is OK. We can actually still, if we want to, we can practice and experiment with the hand. If we come down and click on the hand icon, the grey hand, we can then use image, adjust and brightness and contrast again. We can now work on the grey hand, which is going to shift the contrast of the hand. So if we move the contrast there, see, then we can bring the contrast, we make the hand harder edged. Now we can really see the hand popping off the background. It's all personal taste. If we try the brightness, get it to where we want it, say about there. OK, there you are. Now I would say that's almost complete. The one thing I do, which I can still come to the top image here, which is the flower all by itself, click again, so we're working with the picture on the hand. We blurred the hand, we're not going to change that. We've applied the displacement map, we can't change that. But by clicking on the picture here, I'm now going to come up and filter, sharpen and unsharp mask. I'm now going to sharpen the picture that's on the hand, but only slightly. So I'm going to use a threshold of maybe 2, a radius of 1, just leave it at 50% for the sharpening. Click OK. So now we've sharpened nothing but the top picture, the picture that is sitting on the hand. If we hit Control and zoom in, you should be able to see that using the tones and the overlay map, this picture is actually, if you can see, folding round. The creases in the skin, where the shadow runs round the ball of the thumb and the side of the thumb, the shadow drops off. And this is a displacement map and the distort filter. doing its work. Zoom out again. So I hope that's not too complicated. It's not complicated really. If you do get stuck, watch the video over and over again. But if you like what I did, that's how I did it. If I look up new techniques, I'll certainly put videos up. I'll probably put the result up first and show off a bit, I'm a bit of a show off. But I say, I'm not a Photoshop wizard. I can't help you out with major Photoshop design work. That's not what I do. I just follow up on a technique when I see it, when I like it, and I'll see if I can do it. Okay folks, look forward to seeing your stuff on the page. Have a good day, take care, bye bye.